All right, I want you to picture this. The final moments of creation. Everything is settling. The cosmic symphony, which has been this incredible roar, is now just fading to a quiet hum. You can almost feel galaxies settling into their orbits, nebulae taking one last, gentle breath of stardust. And for the very first time, this deep, profound, harmonious silence falls over everything. It's like the universe is taking its first complete breath. Now, in the Torah, the foundational text for this entire moment, this sense of completion is captured in one single ancient verse. Vayechulu hashemayim v'ha'aretz bechol tzva'am. And the heavens and the earth were completed, and all their array. You know, there's such a finality to that word, isn't there, completed? It sounds finished, like the project is done, tools down, the master architect has signed off on the work. But hang on a second. What if that's not what completed means at all? What if the ancient mystics knew something we don't? What if this word isn't about an ending, but a beginning? What if it means the entire system has just been booted up and the keys have just been handed over to us? Okay, let's really dive into this. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to shift our perspective. We need to think less like spectators and more like cosmic engineers. Let's reframe our whole understanding of reality using an analogy that really gets to the heart of this incredible mystical secret. First up, the universe itself. It is not a static museum of things that were made and are now just sitting there. Think of it as a vast, living, dynamic operating system, a program that has been running nonstop every single nanosecond since the moment it was switched on. So, if the universe is an operating system, what's its programming language? Well, according to the Zohar, the foundational text of Jewish mysticism, God literally looked into the Torah to create the universe. This means the Torah isn't just a history book or a rule book, it is the foundational source code. It is the very architecture of reality itself. Okay, so if the universe is the OS and the Torah is the code, where do we fit into all of this? Here's the kicker. We are not passive users just watching a program run. We are active nodes in a vast distributed network. Through our actions, through our prayers, and especially when we study the source code, we are literally providing the processing power that maintains and sustains the whole system. The Midrash puts it this way. When you engage with Torah, it's as if you are building and sustaining entire worlds. And this leads to one of the most mind-blowing ideas of all, a chiddush. That's a new, genuine insight into the Torah's code. When you have one, it isn't just a personal aha moment. It's a system upgrade. It's a patch that actually expands the cosmic architecture. The mystics say it literally plants new heavens and establishes a new earth. You're adding to the code. So, with this whole framework in mind, let's go all the way back to that original verse and see how this system actually works. The heavens and the earth were completed. Because these aren't just physical places, they are two core interdependent components of this whole cosmic machine. Let's look at that word again, vayechulu, completed. The Hebrew root goes so much deeper than just finished. It means to be fulfilled, to be brought to a state of perfect, dynamic readiness. It also carries the meaning of being contained within a kli, a vessel. So creation wasn't just done. It became the perfected container, ready to hold and channel the divine energy it was built for. And listen to this. This idea is right there in the prophet Jeremiah. He says the very existence of physical laws, the ordinances of heaven and earth, is conditional. It depends entirely on an ongoing covenant, an active, continuous engagement from our side. So, what is this covenant?
This is the key that unlocks it all. In this mystical system, heaven and earth are basically code words for two fundamental aspects of Torah. Heaven, or shamayim, corresponds to the written Torah. That's the immutable transcendent source code. It's connected to Kabbalistic concepts like tiferet, which is divine beauty and truth, and the attribute of mercy. You can think of it as the white fire of the parchment itself. And then you have earth, or eretz. That's the oral Torah, the dynamic, evolving, living interpretation of that code. It's associated with Malchut, the kingdom, which is how that code actually shows up in our world. And it's balanced by the attribute of judgment. This is the black fire of the ink, the letters that give the white fire form and make it understandable.
The Zohar describes them as being inseparable, like two lovers. You see, the oral Torah gives a voice to the silent text of the written Torah, and the written Torah is the infinite source that feeds the oral Torah. This constant back and forth, this dynamic union, this perfect feedback loop between the unchangeable code and its living interpretation, that is the very engine that powers all of existence. So if that's the engine,
What's the fuel? What's the energy source that's powering this entire system? Well, for that, we have to go back to the very, very beginning, to a kind of primordial energy that was infused into the code at the moment of its compilation. On day one of creation? I mean, think about this. Before the sun, before the moon, before any stars, a unique and singular light was brought into being. And this was no ordinary light. The Talmud describes it as a kind of illumination of pure consciousness, a light so powerful that it transcended space and time, allowing a person to perceive the entirety of reality from one end of the universe to the other in a single glance. But a light that powerful, that revealing, it was just too intense for a world where we needed to have free will, where we needed to struggle and to grow. I mean, its constant presence would have erased all doubt, and with it, all meaningful choice. So, seeing that it could be misused, God concealed it. Now, concealed is the important word here. It doesn't mean it was removed or deleted. Instead, this primordial light, called the HaGanuz, was hidden inside the source code. It was woven into the very fabric of the Torah itself, becoming this latent spiritual energy battery for all of reality, accessible only to those who are willing to dig deep into its code. The Zohar explains that even though the full, blinding intensity of that light is hidden away, a single thread of it remains accessible. And it is this thread that sustains the world. It is this exact energy that scholars and mystics tap into when they study Torah, channeling its power to keep the cosmos running. So all of this amazing cosmic mechanics, it all builds to the most important part of the entire system, you. I mean, understanding the theory is one thing, but how do we actually apply it? What is our role in this grand, ongoing process of creation? Okay, for anyone who loves gaming, think of it this way. Reality is the greatest video game ever made. It's called creation. The Torah, that's the secret codebook. It's filled with hints, Easter eggs, and secrets. Every mitzvah, every good deed you do is like a cheat code that patches bugs and makes the world stronger. And learning Torah, that's how you unlock new levels and find hidden treasures. That's the hidden light. So you're not just a player in the game, you're also a co-developer, actively working to keep the whole thing from crashing. Or, if you're more technically minded, try this on for size. You are a systems engineer for the entire universe. Studying Torah is like doing a deep and essential code review. Prayer and mitzvot are like running maintenance scripts that rebalance energy loads and patch critical vulnerabilities in the system. And when you come up with a kiddush, a genuinely new Torah insight, you are authoring a brand new module that expands the entire system's capabilities. Your work, your engagement, that's what keeps this cosmic program stable and growing. And this view reframes everything, even the Sabbath. Shabbat isn't just a day to stop working, it's a celebration of the handover. It's the moment God finished the initial build, turned the system online, and officially appointed us as its custodians, its engineers, and its co-creators. So the system is stable. The source code is open to you. That primordial energy is embedded deep inside, just waiting to be accessed. Creation is complete. Now, the work is yours. So what world will you build this week? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Part S. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.